Bitsy, welcome to my channel. Today I want to continue my goal setting for 2022. Is that it? I don't even know what year it is. So anyway, I have been looking over what I've read this year and what I have changed about my reading since joining BookTube, because things have changed a little bit since I've been reading for BookTube. It's made me just more accountable to my reading, and I'm really enjoying it. I think it's a great addition. So if you have been thinking about starting a BookTube channel, maybe that should be your goal for 2022, because it's really been a lot of fun and helped me just kind of up my game on my reading a little bit. So I'm enjoying that. So today I just thought I would share some of the authors I want to spotlight in 2022. Now, some of these you already know about because I talk about them all the time, but some of them I have not mentioned, and so I thought I would just share that whole list today. And I have a clipboard to kind of keep me in check to remind me of what I need to talk about for each one. The first one I'll mention is Agatha Christie. Now, Agatha Christie, if you follow my channel, you know that I have just sort of rediscovered Agatha Christie. I tried reading her when I was a teenager and just, I don't know, we just didn't get along when I was a teenager. It just wasn't the season for me. But lately I have been reading through her books and just really enjoying it. It is just what I have needed over the past year to read. They have just been cozy mysteries that are a lot of fun, and I've just fallen in love with Agatha Christie, and so I want to continue that. And my goal this year was to read one a month, and so I'm going to continue doing that. I know I can do that. It's only one a month, and so that is doable for Agatha Christie. So I want to continue that. Another one that I've already mentioned on this channel is Charles Dickens. I want to continue my read through Charles Dickens. I want to read all of his novels. I know that some people love this novel and they despise the other one or whatever. Well, I want to read all of them and find out for myself. And what I've read so far, I've really enjoyed. I've read his short stories, Christmas short stories, and some other short stories too. And then I've read David Copperfield and Great Expectations. And I actually did a review of David Copperfield to kick off Victober this past year. So if you want to see that, I'll leave it in the description box. And that was a lot of fun because it was a 5-star read for me. I just loved that book, so I'm hoping to discover a new one. And I hope to read at least 2 Charles Dickens books next year. Again, his books are a lot more complicated. They have a lot more characters to keep up with, and they're all over the place. So you really have to focus when you read a Charles Dickens, and they're longer too. And that's why I don't want to say I'm going to just read every single Charles Dickens next year, because I have other books I want to read. But I think I could get to 2. So I don't know which ones that will be yet, but I'm planning on reading at least 2 Charles Dickens next year. Another author that I have fallen in love with is Elizabeth Gaskell. If you've ever read Elizabeth Gaskell, I know that you know what I'm talking about. Her writing is just wonderful. I have read North and South and Ruth and some short stories, and I have loved what I've read so far. North and South and Ruth were 5-star reads for me. So I just had this feeling that I'm going to have some more 5-star reads in my journey with Elizabeth Gaskell. Another thing about Elizabeth Gaskell is there's not as many of those novels for me to read. So my challenge for next year is going to be to read all of her novels next year. And I think I can do that. So that's what I'm going to try to do. If you've read any Elizabeth Gaskell and you have a favorite, leave it in the comments, because I'm going to read all of them, but I'd like to know what your favorite Elizabeth Gaskell is too. Another one that I really haven't mentioned on this channel is C.S. Lewis. I did mention a buddy read of the Chronicles of Narnia. My son loves the Chronicles, and so I've only read 2 of those. So we're going to buddy read those starting in January. And I know that's going to be fun because I do like C.S. Lewis. I've read some of his fiction, and I've also read some of his nonfiction. So this next year I hope to read a little bit more C.S. Lewis and just dive a little deeper, because his nonfiction really has been thought-provoking, and so I've enjoyed his take on things and how he explains his reasoning behind things. I just enjoyed that, so I do want to dig deeper into C.S. Lewis works. And then another one that will not be a surprise if you follow my channel, and that is Daphne du Maurier. I have been reading Daphne du Maurier for quite some time. A long time ago I read Rebecca. I've reread Rebecca. Rebecca's like one of my favorites. But My Cousin Rachel, sometimes I think it's even better than Rebecca. So I will say that. I love that one too. And so after reading those, I started reading some of her other works, and I realized that she writes in all different genres. She has a lot of different genres, but she's a great storyteller nonetheless. So whether you are sci-fi or, like me, historical fiction, gothic fiction sort of thing, you may find something in her catalog that you would enjoy, because she just tells a great story. And so I do want to continue reading some of her books. I have read I think 2 or 3 of her books this year, and so I'm not in a hurry. I'm just going to go through them, but I do want to read 2 or 3 more this coming year. Another one that I have mentioned before is Ray Bradbury. I have been reading through his works. I read Fahrenheit 451 years ago and loved it, and then I reread it, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago, and loved it all over again. And so I started just kind of reading some of his short stories and things over the past couple of years. And at the end of this year, I decided I want to read more of Ray Bradbury, because I've really found his work thought-provoking too. He writes a lot of kind of dystopian and sci-fi kind of things, and he's just super creative. He had a wonderful imagination and, again, a great storyteller. So I do want to read more Bradbury, because I think he helps me kind of read outside my comfort books, the books that I kind of gravitate towards. So I want to challenge myself to read more of his works next year too. And then I have a couple on this list of books by authors I have never read before. So I have 2 authors that I definitely want to try in 2022, and that's because BookTube made me do it. There are a lot of booktubers that talk about these authors all the time. And when I hear them talk about them, I'm like, I know I would like that writer. I need to pick that up. And the first is Susanna Kearsley. Now, I found a Susanna Kearsley book a few months ago at a secondhand bookstore, and I picked it up, but I haven't read it yet because I've been doing so many readathons. So I do want to read Susanna Kearsley next year, and I just have a feeling I'm going to enjoy her writing. I read an interview that she had, I don't know when she'd done this interview, but when she talked about her favorite authors, one was Daphne du Maurier. And so I thought, okay, and I've also heard people say, if you like Daphne du Maurier, you'd probably like Susanna Kearsley. And I think she writes historical fiction, which I love. So I just have a feeling that I'm really going to enjoy her work. So Susanna Kearsley is one I want to try. And then the other is another, I think she writes historical fiction as well, and that is Amy Harmon. Now, I've heard a lot of booktubers that have read her work, and I mean, it was like one of their favorite reads. And so when I looked on Goodreads, I noticed that a lot of her books are 4- and 5-star reads. So apparently she's a great writer, and the way that the books have been described to me sound like something that I would love. So those are 2 that I really want to try this next year. So if you have read any Susanna Kearsley or Amy Harmon books, and you think that there's a certain one where I should start with those authors, let me know in the comments. Or if you have one that's your favorite, let me know in the comments, because I love to hear from you, and I love to hear what you're reading too. So these are the authors that I plan on spotlighting during 2022. And I also have others, of course, on my radar, but these are the ones I really want to kind of focus in on throughout the year. What are you reading? Do you have goals for 2022? Let me know in the comments what your goals are, because I love to see what everyone else is planning on reading and the goals they're trying to reach. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon.